Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Enter the Ether, the podcast all about the upcoming third-person MOBA, Ethereal Clash of Souls. I am your host, the Man Goose. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host, JellyKnees. How you doing, Jelly?
I'm fantastic, Man Goose. You're here looking like a lumberjack today a little bit with your red coat there, but I'm doing fantastic, other than you're trying to scare people on Halloween, I guess.
Nothing wrong with looking like a lumberjack. I mean... Why do you got to put down lumberjacks like that?
I just said you looked like one. I didn't say that. That's
Jelly hates lumberjacks. Hot take for this particular episode. So we got a lot. We got a lot to get to. We got a lot to get to. You guys had your big community corner, and there was so much information, more than we could possibly get to on this show, without it turning into the community corner yet again.
Seriously,
like that, you guys added and removed a bunch of items. Yeah, I highly suggest anybody go watch that community corner because it was very exciting. The main things I want to touch on are, of course, the streamer thing on November 6th, the stress test on the 20th. If you guys don't know yet, you probably should know. Ethereal is having a stress test on the 20th. Go register on their website. You go to UndyingGames.com. There's a register button. You hit that register button and you register for the newsletter, and then you're in. I had a lot of questions on that. People were thinking, oh, I didn't get the register for the thing. I just registered for this newsletter. No, you're in. Once you get your email in the system, you're registered for the stress test. So you guys are going to start it up. There's no set time on it, just until the game breaks. And you're just going to keep adding more and more people in until the game breaks.
For lack of a better way to put it, the hope is to break the game.
Okay.
Right? Is that we're going in wanting to essentially get a predecessor out of the deal, right? That we're going to go in there and hope something catastrophic happens. Ideally, it won't, right? Because that'll mean that we're up to snuff, we're good to go, but we're not expecting that either, right?
Okay.
When it breaks, that's something we're expecting to happen. So we want to find where the weaknesses are in our system so we can get those fixed. So going into the pre-alpha, it's as stable as possible.
Since this is you guys' first time releasing this game to the greater community, I'd probably be a little more lenient on you guys than I would predecessor. Like predecessor already had some successful stuff going on, but this will be the first time you guys are out there. My question is, what if it doesn't break? How long is it going to go?
Then we'll have to figure out what's a good time. In theory, we may do all day that Saturday, or we'll do the whole weekend or something. We'll keep on adding people. I mean, so far, since we made the announcement, we've had like 500, 600 people sign up to the newsletter that already weren't a part of it. So
I was going to say there was already thousands and thousands that were part of it already. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've seen those numbers boost up. So we've definitely got a large group to work with that we can increase over time and get as many people in as possible.
Right. And patrons get moved to the front of the line as far as picks are concerned, right?
That's true. Yes. So what we'll do is we'll go through the Patreon first, and then go through and email all of those people their access to get in for their account, all that good stuff. And then from there, we'll go to the newsletter, removing those same emails out, and then randomly select from who's in the newsletter. Okay.
I mean, that's a good, I would normally say then that's pretty much just paid access, but you don't have to be a patron to get into this stress test, and you do have to reward your patrons in some way. You need to reward the people that are giving you money if you can. So that's a nice little reward for them.
We don't want to exclude non-patrons, but like you said, we wanted to be able to reward the ones that are helping support the game and have been for the last month.
So on November 6th is the streamer event where various streamers are going to be able to have access to the game. They'll be able to stream, record. That's a ballsy move, by the way. But they'll all be able to stream. So you'll get your first taste of the game there. Get a look of, well, not your first taste, but you'll get a better feel for the game through that, and get a wider variety of opinions. And then after that, you can try and play the game yourself. So a lot of exciting stuff going on for Ethereal, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be curious to see how that For the Minions poll looks this week after all these announcements.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Extra Life event will have, right now we've got 15 streamers, I think it is.
That's what I was about to ask.
And we're still looking for more. Ideally, if we can get 2 full games of content creators and streamers, that's what we want to do. So the more the merrier in there. If you guys are listening and you're a content creator, reach out to me. I'm happy to help coordinate that a little bit more. But it should be super fun. Lots of great content creators coming to help promote that. It's also for Extra Life, which is great on that aspect as well. So it should be a fun time.
So are the streamers that are streaming, are they locked into the Extra Life thing?
No, they're not. If they don't want to participate in the Extra Life thing, they don't have to. But Undying Games specifically will be doing an Extra Life event that day.
I'm going to put this out there right now because I don't give a shit. It'd be a real dick move if you streamed Ethereal on the Extra Life Day event and didn't participate in Extra Life.
I'll leave that to the content creators. I'm not gonna...
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Help the kids out. Extra Life is a great charity if you guys don't know about it. It got formed a long time ago. Some little girl had some disease. I forget what it was. I haven't looked into Extra Life for a while, but a bunch of gamers got together and was like helping her, like sending her games, and then that has just spiraled out of control in a great way to where this huge organization that helps fund research and treatment for sick children that can't afford it. And yeah, it's a really good thing. I'm glad you guys are participating in it once again, and I'm happy to participate in it as well. So are you going to be streaming, Jelly, or are you going to be streaming for Ethereal?
I will be doing both. So I will be streaming for Ethereal during the actual content creator event, and then afterwards I will probably stream on my own channel just to continue the Extra Life Day.
Okay, can I have dibs for being on your team?
That might be up to the matchmaking, because I think we're going to let matchmaking decide who goes where.
Oh, no. Let's group up. I want to stack. I want to get real sweaty for this Extra Life event.
All right, perfect, Mangoose. You heard it here. Mangoose wants to sweat. Let's go.
So, yeah, this is amazing news. This is like, I mean, I think you guys should have had the stress test on November 28th. Because I think that was the date that the original alpha was supposed to be back in like 2018. Like, we didn't say what year.
The perfect cycle of events.
But no, November 20th falls on a Saturday, which is perfect. People won't have to some people will have to take the day off if they want to participate, but most people are off on weekends.
Yeah. No, it should be a fun time. We're excited to have more people and play the game, stream the game, the whole 9 yards, get it out there, get a bunch of feedback in return, right across the board, whether that be that their system is struggling in certain ways, or that this myth is broken in certain ways, or whatever it may be, right? Ideally, we found 98% of that, but there's always inevitably going to be something that us and the testers haven't found out, right? That someone's going to do something and we're going to be like, hey, that might be a little strong. We may need to tune that down a little bit.
Or just somebody likes to hit their buttons in a certain way, and then that ends up breaking like one of the movement abilities or something. You never know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This is amazing news. Like, I've been following Ethereal for so freaking long, just hoping, waiting, dealing with people in my comments like this game is never going to come out, And finally, we're here. We're getting it into the community's hand. This isn't a pre-alpha, like they said. It's just a stress test, but it is the first time that the greater community will be able to play the game. And yeah, I think it's going to go well, just judging from, because this isn't like with predecessors alpha, their very, very first alpha back in March of 2018. They didn't have that much testing going into that alpha. They had like a little bit of content creators coming in, but there wasn't that much testing. Whereas with you guys, you started out with like a small group of testers, and you've built upon that. So it's not like you guys don't know that the game doesn't work or something like that. Like with predecessor, we found out that they had huge lag issues and net code issues. So you guys already kind of know a little bit of what you're doing. So I'm really rooting for you for this test to go well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've implemented the mini map. The mini map will be live for both Extra Life and the stress test. We've got some class abilities that are on the way that we're hoping to have implemented by then, but it's going to be pretty close. But there's more features getting added still, even before that stress test. that even the community hasn't seen. So there'll be some surprises going into that as well.
I mean, I would think that you probably don't want to add too much before
Oh, no. Not
you
like
know.
things that will work consistently by that time will be in
Okay.
the stress test.
Okay, good.
Like the mini map is fully functional with fog of war, the whole 9 yards right now. So that's
Okay.
already in the game as of today. We can already use that. So that's good to go.
All right. Now, the one of the other things you guys were kind of talking about was the addition and removal of a bunch of items. We've already talked about this one here, like you guys balanced everything out. So I don't really want to get into the item conversation so much. If you guys are really curious about that, I would say go watch. It's a YouTube video now, or you can just watch the replay on Twitch or what have you. And yeah, I think that would be the best way to do it. What I would love to get into here is Grog Narc. You guys revealed the kit for Grog Narc, and it is fucking insane.
Dude, he's gonna be crazy.
How about you just go down the list real quick, just list off his abilities, what he's got going on, and then we'll just talk about it.
All right. So like we said before, with the pre-alpha 7, they were intentionally generic, right? And you and I have talked about this, Mangoose, that the pre-alpha 7 were generic, so anybody could pick them up and have characters that they feel relatively comfortable picking up and playing the first time. From here on out, these myths are going to get crazy occasionally. Grog Narc, I think, is the first huge example of that. So his passive is Strong as Rock. He gains stacks of damage resistance over time, up to a max of 5. Every time he takes an instance of damage, he'll lose a stack, but take reduced damage based on the number of stacks he has. So just a basically flat damage nerf across the board for anything that hits Grog Narc, which is insane. The other thing that I am so happy to finally be talking about for this myth is that he rolls around the map. And I can't wait. We've been talking with like testers and stuff about the roll mechanic. And
oh, I'm losing you.
Hello?
Okay, go for it.
Okay. But so the roll mechanic is going to be super fun. We're going to go through, he's going to be able to roll around, but he's not going to be able to jump or be knocked up by abilities. So he's going to be knock up immune, and then he can't jump anywhere. It's just his roll. He can roll off the side of lanes and then land somewhere else, but there's no actual jumping itself.
Okay.
So the special ability is one we all know and love, or know and hate, is Rampage's rock throw, essentially, is that Grog Narc is going to be able to pick up a rock out of the ground, toss it at an angle. If it hits somebody, it's going to stun and do damage. And the downside to this ability is that while he's carrying the rock, he can carry it indefinitely, but he has significantly lowered move speed while he does. He can't roll around. He can't move quickly. He's going to be very slow roaming around with this rock until he throws it. Once he does throw it, then his movement speed will slowly ramp back up to his full movement speed. His first ability, or his Q rather, is lodestones. So every few seconds, a lodestone is going to, basically a rock is going to come out of the ground and start floating around Grog Narc. These rocks themselves can block projectiles. So if a projectile shoots at Grog Narc, it'll block that projectile and the rock will be destroyed. And it's similar to like I always imagine it this way: the shells in Mario Kart, when they spin around you when you have multiple shells. If you run into somebody else with one of these rocks, they will take damage and destroy that rock. So you can run right up to somebody and have them spinning around you and deal damage that way as well. That's just a passive.
Let me interject a real quick question. Do they spin around him while he's rolling?
To be determined.
Okay. That would be very Mario Kart-ish.
That they'll kind of hover around him, so he'll be the rolling hedgehog that he becomes.
Yeah.
With rocks floating around him. The active for lodestone is that he's going to take one of these rocks and launch it in a straight line in front of him, and then dealing damage to the first target hit. So it's just a straight skill shot that does damage when it collides with the first target. So it's balancing that give and take of keeping them up passively to block projectiles or run into people with, versus using them actively to just throw damage out at somebody else. His ability 2 is Great Divide. Great Divide essentially spawns a wall out in front of him at a set distance, and then for every level of the ability, the wall gets larger. So it'll start out relatively small, like it's not going to block off lanes or anything like that. but eventually it'll get to the point where you can do some pretty serious like terraforming of the map and blocking off certain paths or blocking off certain areas, which will be super cool. And the cool thing about the wall as well is because we have berserkers who can destroy walls, all berserkers can destroy his wall. So there's a direct counter. If there's a berserker on the enemy team and Grog Narc throws his wall up, the berserker can come up and break it down real quick, right? So you have to judge as Grog Narc where the enemy berserker is and whether or not this wall is effective to use right now. So it's a little bit of that give and take with the ability itself. He's got Massive Rupture, which is a zone in front of him. He'll pound the ground, dealing damage in a zone in front of him, and then there'll be like a sweet spot at the end that if an enemy myth is in the sweet spot, they get pulled toward Grog Narc. So kind of like he's shifting the plates and they kind of pop up and knock someone backwards towards him. He can then use Great Divide behind that, throw lodestones, the whole 9 yards. Then his ultimate is Lithoquake. This one also has a passive and an active. The passive is that Grog Narc reduces the amount of damage he takes from basic attacks and then reflects that damage back to whoever dealt the damage to him. And that's just across the board. Once he has his ultimate, this is a passive that is always active. So he can use this to just mitigate that damage from a carry that's popping off or Malaya who's running at him and just slashing at him a lot. He's really intended to be a counter to those basic attack heavy characters, of which we have a lot right now in the pre-alpha 7. So he's going to be really effective at kind of mitigating a lot of that damage and helping keep his team alive. And then the active is that he will root himself in place and then kind of smash the ground, dealing damage in an AoE around him and slowing enemies that are in that zone as well.
Okay, I didn't understand that with the passive. So he just constantly reflects basic attack damage?
Yep.
Holy shit, how are you going to balance that?
It's similar to the item that's already in the shop that does the same thing. At basic attacks get reflected damage. So it's just figuring out what that balance of percentage is. And if he builds that item, the effect being doubled needs to still be balanced as well. So
okay, so it's not
what that looks like.
It's not full damage. Like Dante doesn't take
No.
Okay.
God, no. It's a percentage. It's very, very
okay. Because when you say reflect basic attack, I'm thinking full damage. And it's like, that would be stupid.
Dante deals a 1200 crit straight back at him.
Yeah.
Dante kills himself.
Exactly.
No. Yeah, it'll just be it'll reflect a portion of the damage that Grog Narc takes.
Okay, wow. So that's quite the interesting kit. Right off the bat, I just want to say that you guys are already breaking your own mold a little bit. Now, this is just an assumption that I made. I think you made it as well. It was that knights would be the tanks of Ethereal, and that berserkers would be the bruisers. Now, Grog Narc is a berserker, but he is definitely a tank through and through.
He's the tank's tank. Yeah, like he will absolutely be able to survive most things you throw at him for quite a long time.
Now, some of my concerns with this kit, it seems like it will be hard to balance player frustration, both playing as him and playing against him, because him just being able to just block projectiles with his lodestones, that's going to piss you off whenever you try and land an ultimate or something. And the other thing too is that he moves slower than other characters unless he's rolling. So trying to catch somebody in a fight without rolling is going to be very, very frustrating.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tweaking that's going to have to go in once we have him in testing, right? Is going in and making sure that all of these things feel rewarding to play as and against. Like for the lodestones, if Dante uses his right click, he can burst down all the lodestones, and then now Grog Narc doesn't have any to cast his ability with.
Yeah, but then Dante's silenced.
Exactly, but so it's that give and take of you're negating basically an entire ability of somebody else, and then you're silenced for a couple seconds. Or if you're just using 5 basic attacks in general at the late game stages, right? So it's finding those interactions that can be rewarding for both sides of the encounter.
My other concern is that he's going to be an early game tower dive terror. Like, he'll be soaking up tower shots with his lodestone. He'll be grounding, pounding, keeping people slowed. He could throw up his wall to keep people retreating too far behind their tower. He could just sit in that tower and take that damage, and And especially with the grounded pound, the tower's going to keep refocusing on him. Like if somebody else comes in and deals damage, it's going to be really easy to juggle that tower damage back to himself, which he wants because he's got those lodestones up, taking those instances of damage. So I think that's a bit of a concern. But also, he's going to be a terror as far as when you're underneath his tower, he might be able to pop you into his tower.
Yeah,
he's a tower god, both with his own towers and against towers.
Yeah, and that's something we're keeping in mind as well with his lodestones. Is how will tower shots affect those? Because tower shots are projectiles, but there's the chance that him being able to block tower shots is just ridiculously strong. So towers just penetrate lodestones. He just takes the damage straight up. Or a tower shot takes 3 lodestones to be blocked, right? So you can kind of finagle that a little bit to find a balanced state where he's not taking 5 tower shots with no repercussions for it at all.
Right.
It's finding a way to do that kind of stuff.
The other thing too would be, would lodestones deal damage to minions? Because you could walk to a minion wave and all 5 lodestones are gone. Or they target him and like all the minions
firing.
The skill
shot will definitely do damage to minions. And then the floating rocks, I think, is going to be a balanceable thing of how easy is it to hit them on minions if you're just walking past a minion wave,
right,
or not. So it's just looking at all those things as well.
Awesome. Now the cool thing. Oh, by the way, lithoquake. The lithosphere is the very top crust of the Earth. If you're wondering why it's called lithoquake instead of earthquake. But the cool things that I want to do with him, just right off the bat, I want to build move speed Grog Narc and just sonic my ass around the map. Especially if I can have lodestones going, just wow, like a freaking motorcycle. As much move speed as I can stack on him, and it'll be awesome.
I love it.
I don't think it'll be effective, but it'll be fun.
Now I want a game mode where you can pick alternate myths right clicks and get Leah's Tailwind on Grog Narc going the Sonic build. And you just fly down the map.
The other thing that I really, really want to do is, since the lanes are split and up above each other, I want to stand on that top lane and launch rocks at people like a freaking artillery battery. I think you guys mentioned that, I think, in the community corner, but as soon as that was revealed, I thought of Rampage, like getting in a high position and throwing that rock. Oh man, not only am I going to get on the highest point, I'm going to put my wall up underneath myself so that I'm even higher. Then I'm going to throw rocks at people.
You're going to 100% see montages of Grog Narcs just tossing rocks from fire down to void and waiting for them to collide somewhere else.
The other thing I thought of immediately too is, whenever you're trying to take an objective like the Ice Wyvern or the Fire Wyvern, whenever the enemy team's trying to push in to gank you while you're on that objective, you just throw up a wall. Like, nope, sorry.
That goes both ways. So Ice Wyvern, especially because it's got those 2 drop downs on either side and you can't get back out.
Right.
If they go in through either of those, you just block off their only exit, and now they're trapped in there with you. What are they going to do here?
The old Horseshack.
Exactly.
I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me.
It's going to be such a cool ability to see how people use it and make it effective.
Yeah. I really like the skill shot portion of his. I forget which ability is the one, the earthquake that goes out and at the very end it knocks people back.
Yeah, his E. So that's Massive Rupture.
Yeah,
R, sorry.
That's really going to separate the good Grog Narcs from the bad ones, the ones that are able to hit that max distance and hit the right distance to actually catch people, especially if they're running.
It's basically, the way I envision it, at least, is like a Grux pull, but with a sweet spot as the pull instead of just the whole cone, just bringing people back to you.
But it still deals damage if you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't hit the thing. Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. I really like that. He's just this is a really cool kit all around. Like, that's the thing with ethereal characters. You look at these kits and you immediately start thinking of cool shit that you could do with it. Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of conversations with the community about having that extra ability, right? Because we have an extra ability than most MOBAs out there.
Right.
And part of that allows you to have a diversity of skills, but that all are cohesive together at the same time, that allow for a bunch of different combinations of abilities to come through.
Yeah. I also like the flavor of him not being able to be knocked up.
Mm-hmm. He's heavy. He's a giant rock monster. He used
Like
to
he
be a
still takes the damage from a knockup, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
So Talos wouldn't be able to.
His E2, yeah, wouldn't be able to knock him up. Exactly. Or Heaven's Blade. You're not building Heaven's Blade, which every couple seconds or every 4 basic attacks, you knock up the person you're fighting.
Yeah.
Heaven's Blade wouldn't work on Grog Narc.
Man, I built that on Malaya one match, and it was fun.
But that's just Grog Narc hard counters that item, right? Like it's just that easy as a character, which is cool and scary at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And it starts giving you those options of, okay, they picked Talos. If I pick Grog Narc, his E2 will only do damage, but I'm not going to get knocked up. I basically mute some of his CC in my pick. So it's going to be really cool to see how that works as well.
Which is nice for a tank, having just a little bit of unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? What are we missing here? What did we miss?
I mean, we've got most everything, I think, already. We talked about Grog Narc, Extra Life, the stress test. We could talk about the myth update if you wanted a little bit of like the changes we did to the myths.
Yeah, those though, like people haven't been playing the game, so I don't think that's as important of a thing to talk about as the myth changes, because like it's like
they're not like us where we know every in and out of the game at this point.
I don't. You do. That's why I want to be on your team. But yeah, at the risk of this going for hours and hours, because we could talk for hours and hours about this community corner. Like I said, I'll have the. Is this one going on my channel this week or your channel? Okay.
Yours.
Yeah, I'll have the link to that video in the video description below if you guys want to check that out. But I think that is going to about wrap it up. Jelly, anything you want to plug?
Ethereal Clash of Souls, the stress test on the 20th. Extra Life. If you know streamers that you think would want to be a part of it, have them hit me up. I'm coordinating with a bunch of people, so we're happy to get as many people in to that as we can, because it should be a fun time. So we're excited. Yeah,
definitely do that. Now is go register on the website. Like, I mean, you might think, oh, I might not be off that day, blah 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 blah. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Just go register. Did you register for the newsletter? Which, have you guys ever sent out a newsletter? I don't check.
We do
my
about
email.
once a month right
okay,
now.
I never check my fucking email. Yeah, but even then, just do it. Now is your chance to finally join us as we enter the ether. Man goose. Shout out to channel members Foolish Bloodhunter, JellyKnees, Meow Mix for Men, and Stun.